Warning, the show contains adult language, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. If you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. Today's episode 230, and this is Stationary RV Living Revisited. We did some back in the hundreds episodes, and I had some new ideas and some things, and I thought that we would just generally revisit this situation because I think there's a lot of people that should look into these things. We're doing a lot of series. We're moving forward here. This is May 2021, and I've got some bad feelings about how things could possibly go really bad for us, and I think a lot of people are going to be looking for help, and I want to have all that help, that content out there as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible so that people can go over and look at, well, what can I do? Before we get into the show, the background noise, that's my F-350 7.3 liter diesel pickup truck. It's my mobile studio, so that's the background noise. Please excuse that. As the show moves forward, maybe we'll get some more professional settings. But we got to do with what we got to do, right? So, yeah, let's get into it. First thing I want to say, well, I've been living stationary RV style for probably since 2014, maybe 13. I've been doing this for quite a bit of years now. At least like 7, 8, 9 years. So I may have a thing or two to say. And the first thing I want to say is buy old. Like if I could do stuff revisited, go back in time, or if the time comes I need to buy a new one, I'd get an old one and I would gut it. I'd gut it and make it the way that you want it. And the reason why we're going to talk about is your air conditionings and all those, the way things are basically built. So let's take a look at my customizational recommendations for this. Well, you need to understand not only how these things are built, but how they function, right? So like your refrigerator freezer that you'll have in there works off ammonia, and there's a little heat element. Do not ask me how they make ice from fire. It's just very fascinating. But these components, these fridges, they're made for weekend warriors. Everything's made for weekend warriors. It's not made to actually live in. So a lot of stuff's going to start falling apart. So what would I recommend for a refrigerator freezer? If you're down and out, just use the one that you got. There's usually not a lot of space, even in the big RVs. Utilize it if you do have money. Pull that refrigerator out because those things go. I thought they were $1,000. They're more like $2,000 now. The Domestics and all that. One thing I do like about it, if you do have the money though, in the preparation world, is that if anything ever goes bad where the power gets shut off, this thing will automatically turn to LP gas, and you're well on your way. You don't even have to be there. Your food's not going to go bad. So, but if you wanted to save money, really, and you wanted it for resale, pull that fridge out, put it in storage, and get yourself just a regular old box fridge with freezer. Those single apartment ones. You might even have more space. Put that in the cavity of where you removed your refrigerator, your DC domestic refrigerator, your 3-way, and just put an electric in there, especially if you're stationary. Let's move forward here to your air conditioning. Well, before I do, one of the things I do if you are staying long term is I just went and bought some chest freezers, and I have 2 of them, and I think they're like 4 cubic feet or 6 cubic feet a piece. I can't remember, but I put those outside. You got to be careful if you're going to put a fridge or a freezer outside. Some of them don't work in outdoor conditions, so make sure you check with that. But the chest freezers, the little mini cheapy ones, those things usually I've had no problems. The air conditioning is the same thing. If you live in a place where it's really hot, get yourself one of those window mount ones, and what you can do is you can make yourself a platelet. If you guys can imagine, if I can explain this to you correctly, is get yourself a plywood plate. You're going to remove a window from your RV, and what you're going to do is you're going to cut a square hole in the center of it, and that's where you're going to bolt your air conditioning at. Find yourself a place where it's not going to be blowing in your face while you're sitting on the couch and things like that. That's a little too complicated for you guys. Basically, just go get yourself one of those rollaway ones. I have one that's actually a dehumidifier and an air conditioner, so it's kind of nice. It serves 2 different functions. And then the same thing, what you could do is it comes with like a little plastic window insert thing that you can just kind of stick up and like duct tape to your window during the heat, the the hot times of the season, and it'll just exhaust everything out. So those things are run. I got a fairly decent one for about $250, $300, and it does a good job. It keeps everything nice and warm. And check out your cubic feet. It's very simple. You know, when we live in RVs or tiny houses, you know, the square footage is very simple. You don't need a really big monster for something like that. So the dehumidifier, I want to say, is that I never knew when you're running a propane heater that propane actually emits, it's like an exhaust. It's not going to hurt you, I guess. It's just naturally what happens that comes out with heat is moisture. So that's why you'll have your entire trailer or your tiny house just completely, like the windows sweating and everything, the walls sweating. That's not good because of mold. That's not good because of various reasons. So get yourself a dehumidifier. I've been using mine all the way up until summer, and no more mold, no more sweating and stuff like that. It's going to preserve your trailer for your living conditions for many, many years. Again, even the trailer itself isn't made to live in, so take all precautions. Skylight covers are pretty cool, especially if you're stationary living, because I like to keep airflow, and it's like a box, like a white box that goes over your skylight. That way, pine needles and leaves and stuff when you're sleeping, and there's if a rainstorm happens or something, and you want to keep the air circulating in it, you don't have to go and clean these things. You know, it falls in between the opening and the screen, and these covers are really, really nice. And what's going to happen too is these covers are actually going to protect the lid to your skylight, so you don't get damage from the sun. So stacking functions there, as we like to show on this share on the show. Black and gray water plumbing. I see a lot of people stationary using those accordion hoses. Don't do that, guys. Those accordion hoses are made to bend and everything, and you can wad it all up into a tiny little box. But those things, especially if they're sitting in the sun or in the heat, even the cold, the way I look at it, they're made out of very thin plastic. And what's the last thing you want when you're flushing your toilet or you come home from work to find a broken pipe with shit water everywhere? Not too conducive. Go get yourself some black ABS pipe. There's some certain fittings that you can use. It's a little nipple that goes onto the drain plug where it's got the little, where it spins. I don't even know how, it's like a butterfly kind of a thing there where you hook it up into the bolts. This is right where the nipple comes out, where you would usually attach your accordion gray water hose, black water hose. Yeah, get yourself some black hard plastic ABS pipe. That's what they use for homes. 3-inch would probably be recommended. Get yourself some rubber elbows and rubber unions and things like that. That way, when the trailer is moving and stuff like that, there's a little bit of flex. It's not going to crack. I definitely don't recommend cementing it in. And I've had mine the whole time. I wish I would have done this years ago. If you are going to use the accordions and you're poor, go get yourself a rain gutter or a 2x4 and zip tie the accordion to it, and make sure that this thing is level. It goes from high to low. I've seen people where they're dumping their shit water, and public education, I guess, has failed them. It's going down like a U, like a P-trap, if you know what that is. So that means that the whole entire hose has to fill up before it even empties, and it doesn't empty completely. Disgusting. I don't play with poo. That's one thing I do not play with. Pee? Maybe. I get pee on my finger, and I'd be like, shit, I got pee on my finger. But if I get shit on my finger, it's, I'm like Samuel L. Jackson. Motherfucker! Right. Next, lighting. Lighting, I would recommend if you're doing a long-term, and it's not too big of a deal, is get yourself some LED lights. They're so much more brighter. They have like a brighter white color. And believe it or not, the regular, not CFL, the regular incandescent bulbs that come with RVs, they get hot. And they'll generate heat inside that little space. So good for the wintertime, but not so good for summer. The LED lights, I really, really like these things. They work fantastic. I'm definitely a proponent of them. But if you're running solar and stuff like that too, you're definitely going to win big because they're very less likely to wear down your batteries. Next, I got my awning. Don't use your awning. Like I said, everything. If you're going to gut your trailer out, and if you look at how much the sun deteriorates this thing, if you're living with an open awning for 3 years, especially somewhere in Texas or Arizona, that thing's going to crack. And we're talking about a couple $100, maybe even a couple $1,000 with these shortages we have going on. Keep that thing rolled up. Get yourself a PVC 4-inch gutter and it flexes, and what you can do is you're going to put that as a coping along the whole top of that. Let the sun eat that gutter instead of that couple $100 awning. Go get yourself some quick set canopies, not those cheap ones with the plastic. Get yourself the kind they make out of for cars. And you can get these things in any situations you want. I think like variations. I got mine from canopyparts.com, I think. So you can actually go buy fencing posts. What was it, 1 by 5/16, I think it is, fencing top rail. And you'll have this awning for the rest of your life. Make sure it's anchored down so the wind don't blow it. Go get yourself a really nice tarp. If you're in the heat, they got those cool reflective ones that are silvery, they're shiny. So consider that. RV versus trailer registration requirements. I think I said this in the last time, so this one's nothing new, but people tuning in might be interested, is you can actually get your RV, right? So there's a difference between a travel trailer and an RV. An RV has the motor in it, obviously. Well, you can put it non-op. Depending on what state you're in, you wouldn't have to pay registration because this thing's not driving anywhere, right? Whereas a trailer, you have to pay every single year. So that's something to take into consideration. But another thing to take into consideration I just thought of right now, I don't have on my notes, is that rats like to climb and mice like to climb inside motors and chew gaskets and hoses and electric lines and everything. The secret of NIM shit, you know what I mean? Mrs. Brisby's in there fucking rewiring your goddamn fuel injection system while you're sleeping. So something to take in consideration there. Pop-up full screen enclosures I think is a really good thing to have. Depending on where you live. I've got bees, I've got flies, I got mosquitoes where I live, especially living by a lake. This is something kind of nice to put in your outdoor area for your eating situation. My young daughter, one of those meat bees came and bit her on the neck. She had one just fly up on the back of her hair and bit her on the scalp. So these, the full screen enclosed ones, those are really nice, especially if you can set them up with like a magnetic door so the fucking kids don't break it. The zipper, thinking they're funny, Godzilla coming in, they break everything. My God, if you have kids, don't get good shit. These fucking kids suck. They fucking break everything. No, just kidding. I love them, but they do suck. Propane tank size. I've got myself a very large one. I think it's 35 gallons. If you're stationary living and you're using your, like me, I cook everything on my outdoor barbecuer. You're heating up your water and stuff like that for showers. Go get yourself a big ass tank. Yeah, they're heavy, but if you have a truck, you'd be able to haul these large things. They do get heavy. I believe they're 100 plus pounds. But yeah, you don't run out because those little ones you're going to be going and refilling like constantly. Consider these big ass ones. These ones they're like basically about 3.5 up. I'd say actually about 4.5 feet tall. That's the kind I use. How are we doing on time? 13 minutes of me blabbing my mouth off. This one's pretty long. I guess I may have to split this up in 2 parts. Yeah, we're already on 13 minutes, and my bandwidth is starting to suffer from all the uploading, especially with the extra podcast on Resilient Living podcast, the family-orientated one, not so fucking potty mouth, I'm hoping to turn that one into a business. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this shit. Well, guys, it's 13.5 minutes here. Maybe I have time for one more. We are going to have to split this up in 2, so look for that. That'll probably be episode 231. Water tank storage and why. Make sure you get fresh water tank storage in your RV if possible. This is one I wouldn't gut. I would leave that component in there. We've had the water get shut off. See, when you're living in an RV park too, guys, there's a lot of stuff happening all the time, a lot of wear and tear. So the park, I think, needs to do maintenance and things like that. Or just someone screws up and breaks a fucking sprinkler line. They got to shut the water off for a day. Something happens like that, and that's really nice to have that auxiliary fresh water tank, and I think that it helps for resale value too. But as far as us living an alternative lifestyle design, as I like to call it, we like to be prepared for disasters and things like that in emergency situations, and what better emergency situation than to have some storage water. So get yourself, fill it up. I just keep mine full all the time. It has a little drain in the bottom, and just throw yourself about 2 caps of bleach in there, and that'll keep everything from molding and stuff like that. And you can use it for showers, washing hands. I don't think you really want to use it for drinking water, but yeah, so that's where we left off. I'm going to put a note here for us to keep going because I've got this list just keeps going on. I've got a lot here to share with you guys. Let me know how I'm doing for you guys. If you guys like this particular episode, it's upandititshow@gmail.com. email me, talk to me direct. Let me know what you guys exactly want to hear about. I know that I can't fit everything in these podcasts, especially when we're only doing it for 15 minutes. So let me know if there's something you guys want to hear about. I mean, I've got tons of experience. I watch videos and I'm like, no, that's not the way you do it. No, I'll actually show you guys fucking why you're not going to do it that way. Hopefully some of these things made sense, like especially the fucking shit pipe. Yeah, plumb it right. Guys, so upandinit.com, you guys can check out the website. You guys could, if you like this sort of thing, it's Up and In It on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and anywhere where they'll let me do the podcast. You guys can DM me. I do extra footage sometimes on Instagram and TikTok that you aren't going to find here. So that's the show. As I always say, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, my friends.